Welcome back to Tips for Parents. This episode will be about dealing with misbehavior. It is important to remember that all children misbehave, and you must be able to deal with the situations appropriately and effectively. Parents should be able to determine how to respond by the child's age. 1-year-olds that bite can be told not to bite, but shouldn't be expected to understand their actions, and at this age, behavior can be best controlled by distraction. A 4-year-old is capable of understanding that biting is unacceptable. Then, parents should ask questions. Does the child understand that the behavior is wrong? Was the behavior intentional, or was it beyond the child's control? With children, of any age, misbehavior is sometimes unintentional. For example, a child may cry or whine if they are being forced to wait a long time for their food at a restaurant. This is a child's natural reaction to being hungry, not deliberately misbehaving, because the child does not have the patience like adults do. Unintentional misbehavior should go unpunished. When children deliberately do something that they know is wrong, some form of punishment may be necessary. Punishment acts as a negative reinforcement. That is, it tends to discourage the behavior with which it is associated. Punishment should not take the place of encouragement and clearly stated limits. The first time a child breaks a rule, the parent or caregiver may choose to give a warning rather than a punishment. Punishment should be in proportion to the seriousness of the behavior. Here's some tips. The following are some useful techniques for dealing with misbehavior. They can be effective in many situations. Natural consequences. Sometimes it is punishment enough for a child to suffer the consequences or natural results of his or her own misbehavior. For example, after being called to dinner more than once, Sandra arrives late at the table. Rather than reheating her food, Sandra's grandmother tells her she must eat her dinner cold. Next time, Sandra will be more likely to come when called. Removal of privileges. In some cases, the natural consequences of a child's actions are not appropriate to use as punishment. If a 5-year-old keeps running into the streets while playing, the natural consequences would be that the child gets hurt. A good way to deal with this situation might be to give a warning that if the child runs onto the street again, that there are no more play outdoors for that day. This type of punishment is most effective for ages 5 or older. The privilege that is taken away should always be related to the misbehavior so that the child can associate the two. Ignoring misbehavior. Sometimes a child misbehaves simply to get attention. As long as the behavior is not harmful, the best punishment is to ignore the child. Any other reaction would give the child the desired attention and make it likely that the behavior will be repeated. Time out. Another way to respond to misbehavior is to remove the child from the presence of others or from the center of activity. An example of this is the timeout chair. This is a place where the child must sit for a short time until he or she can settle down long enough to return to playing. There are also some methods of punishment that should be avoided. They are not effective in helping children learn self-discipline. Don't rely on spanking and physical punishment. Most child care experts recommend that spanking be used sparingly, if at all. Parents sometimes use spanking as a way to vent their anger and frustration. This sets a poor example. The child only learns that it's all right to use hitting and fighting instead of learning how to control strong emotions. Don't threaten to withhold love. When a parent says, "I won't love you anymore if you don't stop hitting your brother," the child is left with fear of being rejected and abandoned. Withholding love does not show the child how to correct misbehavior. It merely fills the child with needless anxiety. Don't offer bribes. Bribing a child with special treat if he or she stops misbehaving is not an effective method of discipline. Instead of learning self-control, the child will always look for an outside reward to good behavior. Don't make the child promise to behave. In the process of learning to control their behavior, children will naturally make mistakes. When a promise is made, the child may feel forced to lie about behavior rather than disappoint someone she loves. Don't try to control the child through shame or guilt. When a child misbehaves, it is natural for the parent to feel anger and disappointment. These feelings should be expressed, but calmly and reasonably. Parents should not use statements such as, "How could you do a thing like that?" or "If this keeps up, you'll never amount to anything." Similarly, parents should not ridicule the children's mistakes. The secret to guiding children's behavior is being consistent. Consistency helps children learn the limits of behavior. Children who know what is expected of them and what to expect of the parents feel more secure. Children lose trust and confidence in a parent who constantly changes set limits or fails to enforce them in a constant manner. If a parent laughs at a child's behavior one day and punishes the same behavior the next day, the child will only be confused. Thanks for watching! Don't forget to like our video and leave any comments or questions that you may have. And also subscribe, because we will keep posting new episodes that will help you to be a super parent!